Last week we looked at that threshold moment. When you've decided to do something, the moment to do it arrives and the discomfort hits. It feels too hard. So you don't do it, you avoid it. And you tell yourself why it's not the right time, what you'll do instead. Today we're looking at how to actually meet that discomfort instead. Some people try willpower, just forcing yourself through it anyway. But you're still being run by the discomfort, just trying to override it with force. Eventually that runs out. Or maybe you've tried the habit building approach. Engineer the discomfort away so you don't even feel the resistance. But that's sophisticated avoidance. When conditions change, it falls apart. Both treat discomfort as the enemy, something to eliminate, override, or avoid feeling. But here's what they miss. Discomfort isn't the problem. It's the signal. It's telling you you're at your edge, that there's a gap between what you can currently handle and what this moment demands. There's a different approach. It doesn't try to make the discomfort disappear. It builds your capacity to meet it. And that changes everything. Because right now, every time you avoid, you're not just missing the opportunity, you're reinforcing the avoidance, making that automatic response stronger. So how do you build that capacity? Let me show you how. When you're doing something new, something you haven't done before, you naturally don't have the capability for it yet. If you did, you'd already be doing it. And when your capability is lower than the demand, uncomfortable feelings show up. Let me show you what this looks like. You're sitting at your desk, the project file is right there. You know you should open it, but instead you check your email, then Slack. Then you remember you need to research something first. Before you know it, 2 hours have passed and you still haven't started. Resistance, anxiety, tension, overwhelm. The feelings vary from person to person, challenge to challenge. But they're all emotional responses to the same thing, being at your edge. The gap between your current capacity and what's being asked of you. And when those feelings hit, you respond by default. You automatically avoid the discomfort. You don't think about it, you just move away. This is what I call the default path. Capability is what closes the gap. It's what allows you to stay with the uncomfortable feelings instead of pushing them away and actually meet the demand. So how does this capability grow? Think about how a physical muscle grows. It doesn't grow from being torn apart. It grows from tension, sustained demand that tells your body this isn't enough strength. The signal isn't harm, it's a request to get stronger. Your body adapts, your muscles grow. Capability works the same way. It grows through what I call upstress, challenge that's just beyond your current capacity. Challenging but manageable, uncomfortable but not breaking you. This is how all capability grows. It's the fundamental mechanism by which all living systems expand their possibilities. Now here's what matters. Dosage. You need the Goldilocks amount. Not too much, not too little, but just the right amount. Too little challenge and you're just coasting. You stay comfortable, nothing grows. Too much challenge and you overwhelm. You fragment and collapse. But the right amount, challenging but manageable, uncomfortable but not breaking you, that's upstress. That's where capability builds. Think of upstress as a ladder. Each rung is just within reach, uncomfortable to stretch for, but not so high you can't grasp it. And as you climbed, what seemed impossible from the ground below becomes doable. So when you feel that discomfort at the threshold moment, that feeling is pointing you to your edge, exactly where capability can grow. Which means every time you felt the resistance and backed away, you weren't just avoiding the task, you were standing at the exact threshold where growth was possible. You've been closer than you thought. And if this is landing for you, if you're seeing your own pattern here, do me a favor, hit the like button. It helps us reach other people who need it. And if you want the rest of the series, subscribe so you don't miss next week. So when you're facing that threshold moment, the alarm goes off, the conversation needs to happen, the project needs to start, and the uncomfortable feelings hit, here's what needs to change. Right now, when those feelings hit, you don't experience them as feelings you're having. They feel like facts about the situation. This is too hard. I can't do this. The feeling and the reality are fused together. There's no space between you and what you're experiencing. And because you're completely inside it, your response is automatic. You just move away. You can't question it because there's no you separate from the feeling to do the questioning. But there's another way. You can learn to see these feelings as separate from you, just like you've already learned to do with other emotions. Think about anger. When you're really angry, you don't think, I'm experiencing anger. You just are angry. The anger is you. But later, maybe after you've calmed down, you can look back and say, I was really angry then. Now there's distance. You can see the anger as something you had, not as something you were. The same shift can happen with these uncomfortable feelings. Instead of being swept up in them, you can observe them. Ah, there's that feeling, the one that says this is too hard. Now it's not you, it's something you can see. There's you here, and there's the feeling there. Two separate things. Now here's the point. When you can see it like that, you can choose. Instead of the discomfort having you and making you move around automatically, you have the discomfort, and you can choose to stay with it. And that's what allows you to actually do the thing. But how do you develop this ability to see the discomfort instead of being inside of it? Now, before I show you how to do this, you need to understand where you're starting from. I'm going to introduce you to some new ideas here. And here's the good news. Once you see how this ability develops, you'll realize you're already on the way. This next part is key to everything that follows. The ability to see the discomfort instead of being inside of it. Right now, you might be completely inside those feelings when they hit. So you just move away from the task automatically. But you can learn to see the pattern underneath. Right now, when you don't follow through, you might just think, I didn't do it, or I was too busy. But you can learn to look back and recognize, I was avoiding the discomfort. And as this happens more, as you can see the pattern after the fact more often, the gap between when it happens and when you notice it starts to close. Next time, maybe you catch yourself hours later instead of days later, then shortly after. This isn't random. There's a fundamental pattern to how we develop the ability to respond to discomfort. I call it the response arc. Psychologists have studied this for decades. It's a natural process of psychological maturation. The response arc has 4 states. It starts with the automatic response, being completely inside the feelings, moving away without thinking. Then comes the recognized response. You begin seeing the pattern afterward. As you keep noticing, your awareness moves progressively closer to the moment, from days later to hours to shortly after, until you reach the active response. When you reach the active response, you catch it in real time. You're in that moment and you notice, there's that feeling now, the one that says this is too hard. And because you can see it in that moment, you can choose to stay with it instead of pushing it away. And this is where capability builds. And as you keep practicing, as you keep meeting these threshold moments, eventually you reach the integrated response. It becomes effortless. The capability you've built is now automatic. And here's what's crucial. As you move through these states, you're building 2 things at once. First, the ability to stay in relationship with the discomfort without being swept away. That's what lets you reach the active response so that you can choose. Then, when you can hold that discomfort and act anyway, you're building the capability to actually do the thing. You can't skip that first part, but when you see the discomfort and choose to stay with it, that's up stress. That's where capability builds. So let's bring this together. When you're doing something new, discomfort shows up because there's a gap between what's being asked of you and your current capability. When you're on the default path, you automatically respond by avoiding the discomfort. You procrastinate, rationalize, distract yourself, tell yourself you'll do it later. But capability is what closes that gap. And capability grows through up stress, when you're challenged at your edge in a way that's manageable but uncomfortable, just like muscle growth. The key is being able to see the discomfort, to have it rather than it having you. That's what puts you in relationship with it. When you're in automatic response, you flee. But when you can see it as separate from you, when there's you here and the discomfort there, you can choose to stay in that relationship with it. Like sitting through a difficult conversation when every part of you wants to change the subject or leave. It's uncomfortable, but you're choosing to stay anywhere. This ability develops along what I call the response arc. It starts with the automatic response, being completely inside the discomfort. Then you begin seeing the pattern after the fact, the recognized response. As you practice noticing, your awareness moves closer to the moment until you can catch it in real time, the active response. And when you can see it in the moment and choose to stay with it anyway, that's where capability builds. That's the difference between someone who follows through and someone who doesn't. So that's the foundation. And here's the thing. Just by watching this video, you've already moved forward. You can now see there's a different way of meeting discomfort, one that doesn't leave you stuck. That's progress. Here's an invitation for this week. Each night, ask yourself, did I avoid anything today? If you did, just acknowledge it. That's it. That simple recognition is the foundation for what we'll build on next week. Next week, I'm showing you exactly how to put this into practice, the specific steps to meet these threshold moments, work with the right dosage, and build this capability in your life. And I want to be direct with you. I think that what we're building here really matters. This is about more than just realizing a resolution. It's about developing the capability to follow through on anything that's important to you. And it's about building a life where you feel deep satisfaction and pride. So if these ideas are landing for you, stay with it. This work is worth your time. Don't miss next week. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you then. This is Training for a Better Week, weekly training for self-authorship, so your weeks actually go the way you mean.